Have you ever noticed that some people study spirituality for years yet become calmer and steadier, while others study for years and somehow become more anxious and more tangled? Have you ever felt that the biggest turning points in your life did not come from what happened outside, but from one quiet moment when your mind changed direction inside? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about something that sounds advanced, but is actually the most practical thing you can practice. Keeping the Bodhisattva precepts at home. Not in a temple, not in a retreat, not only when you are inspired, but right inside the relationships that trigger you most. I want to land onto truths that can change the way you understand practice. One is bringing the heart out, the vow that points your life toward awakening, compassion, wisdom, and liberation. The other is bringing the work down, the daily choices that make that vow real inside speech, habits, money, patience, conflict, and care. If the vow is not steady, your road is short. If the work is not real, your merit is unstable. Now let me tell you a story that will make this feel less like theory and more like a mirror. There was a man named Daniel. He was not a monk. He had a job, a partner, a child, and parents who were getting older. He found spiritual teachings during a stressful season and felt saved by them. He learned to sit quietly for a few minutes each day. He learned that anger harms the one who holds it. He learned that karma is not superstition but cause and effect, seeded by intention and repeated habit. He learned that wisdom is seeing clearly and compassion is not adding more harm. Daniel felt hopeful. He even felt clean, like his mind had fresh air again. Then he went home. Not home as a place, home as a relationship, home as a long history, home as old buttons that other people can press without trying. He opened the door and saw dishes in the sink. He heard his child complaining. He heard his partner speaking in a tone that sounded sharp. His mother called and asked for a favor. His father sent a message about money. And the calm he found in meditation evaporated like mist in the sun. He snapped. He blamed. He became cold. Then, he felt ashamed. That night he sat alone in the dark and thought, I am doing all this practice and I still fail at home. Maybe, I am not cut out for this. This is exactly where many sincere people get stuck. They believe practice is supposed to remove all triggers. They believe spiritual growth means you will never get irritated. They believe awakening means you float above family conflict. But the old masters would say the opposite. The real training ground is exactly where you get triggered. The places that expose your attachments are not obstacles. They are your curriculum. If you can only be kind when people treat you gently, you do not yet know kindness. If you can only be calm when life is quiet, you do not yet know calm. If you can only speak wisely when you feel respected, you do not yet know wisdom. Home is the place where your deepest karmic patterns come out because home is where you feel safe enough to be unguarded, and where you have the longest history of habit. So Daniel decided to look at this honestly. He visited an older practitioner, a woman named Evelyn. She had a normal life too, but her eyes looked settled. Not perfect, settled. She listened as Daniel poured out his frustration. I can be calm in a quiet room, Daniel said. But at home I become a different person. The moment my partner criticizes me, something burns. The moment my parents guilt me, something tightens. I know the teachings, but I cannot live them there. Evelyn did not scold him. She did not flatter him. She asked one question. When you say you are practicing, what exactly are you practicing at home? Daniel began to explain his meditation routine. The talks he listened to, the books he read. Evelyn nodded and said something that pierced him. All of that is good, but it is not yet the sharp edge. The sharp edge is your mouth, your temper, your honesty, your patience, your boundaries, your willingness to stop harming the people closest to you with words you would never use in public. The sharp edge is whether your compassion lards in the kitchen, in the car, in the bedroom, in the moment you feel disrespected. Then she added, The Bodhisattva precepts are not a costume you wear in sacred spaces. They are the shape of a heart that refuses to add harm, especially where you have the most power to harm, which is usually at home. Daniel felt defensive. He wanted to say, "But my family is difficult. They do not understand. They push my button." Evelyn smiled gently. "Yes, that is why it counts." That sentence changed everything. That is why it counts. In the days that followed, Daniel began to study his home life as if it were a living sutra. He did not look for mystical signs. He looked for moments. He noticed the exact second before he raised his voice. He noticed the exact second before he used sarcasm. He noticed the exact second before he lied a little to avoid an uncomfortable conversation. He noticed the exact second before he made a promise he did not want to keep just to avoid conflict. He noticed the exact second before he took something emotionally. Attention, reassurance, service, without offering the same back. This is where karma is born. Not in grand speeches, but in these tiny seconds. Daniel also began to understand why home is so hard. At work he was careful with speech because there were consequences. With strangers he was polite because there was distance. But at home he felt entitled to release his stress. He treated home like the place where he could finally drop his mask. The problem was that his mask was not the problem. His entrained mind was. If dropping the mask means dumping your poison on the people you love most, then the mask was not the prison. The poison was. So Daniel made a vow, simple and strong. I will not use my family as a trash can for my unprocessed emotions. That vow is a form of Bodhisattva. Not the grand fantasy version, but the real version. The intention to awaken, to purify the mind, to stop the cycle of harm, and to bring benefit to beings, starting with the beings right in front of you. Many people say they want to save the world, but they cannot speak kindly to their partner. Many people say they want compassion for all beings, but they cannot stop contempt in their own home. Many people say they want wisdom, but they refuse to look at their own craving to win every argument. So the first battlefield is your living room. The first temple is your kitchen. The first retreat is the moment you are about to say something that will leave a scar. Now I want to show you how Daniel learned to keep the precepts at home in a way that actually changed his destiny. One evening his partner, Jenna, confronted him about something small. He forgot a task. She sounded irritated. Old Daniel would have heard the irritation and felt attacked. The mind would have created a story in half a second. She thinks I am useless. She never appreciates me. She is always blaming me. Then the anger would have arrived, and then the sharp words. But Daniel had been practicing a new habit. He paused. He felt the heat rise. He noticed the urge to defend, and he asked himself, what precept is needed right now? The Bodhisattva precepts are often described in many forms, but their spirit is consistent. Do not harm. Speak truth. Do not steal from others, including stealing peace with your anger. Do not use desire as a weapon. Do not intoxicate the mind with habits that create carelessness. Do not lie. Do not create division. Do not praise yourself by crushing others. Do not spread poison speech. Do not hoard. Do not hold grudges like treasures. In that moment, the needed precept was right speech and right intention. So Daniel did something that felt almost impossible. He admitted his mistake without defending his ego. He said, "You are right. I forgot. I will do it now. I am sorry." No excuses. No debate. Jenna looked surprised. Her shoulders softened. The tension in the room dropped. Daniel felt something in his own body too. He felt lighter. That night he realized something. Many arguments are not about the issue. They are about ego. When ego stops fighting, half the conflict disappears. This is wisdom. Then another moment came. A harder one. His mother called and used guilt. She said, "You never come see us. You are too busy. You do not care anymore." Daniel felt the old tightness. He wanted to react. either to submit and resent her, or to explode and accuse her. This is where many family karmas live. Overgiving and resentment, or rebellion and cruelty. Both are unskillful. Both plant seeds of pain. Daniel remembered the middle way. Compassion with clarity. Respect with boundaries. He breathed and said, "Mom, I care about you. I also have a family and responsibilities. I can come on Saturday afternoon for 2 hours, and I will be fully present. I cannot come every day. And I do not want us to speak with guilt. I want us to speak with love." His mother was silent. Then she complained. Then she softened. It was not perfect. But Daniel planted a new cause. The cause was clean kindness. Not fear-driven obedience. Not angry rebellion. Clean kindness. That kind of kindness changes destiny because it changes the quality of your relationships. And relationships are one of the biggest fields where karma ripens. Over time, Daniel started to see a pattern. Every time he kept the precepts at home, even in a small way, the atmosphere changed. Not because his family became saints, but because he stopped feeding the old fires. Fire needs fuel. The old fuel was his reactivity. When he stopped supplying it, the fire weakened. This is dependent origination in daily life. A chain of causes and conditions creates suffering. When you remove a link, the chain breaks. Now let me go deeper into the precepts in a way that fits home life. Many people think of precepts as rules, but the deeper understanding is that precepts are training. They train the mind away from craving, aversion, and ignorance, and toward clarity, compassion, and freedom. At home, the most common ways we break the spirit of the precepts are not dramatic crimes. They are everyday harms. We kill kindness with contempt. We steal peace with loud anger. We steal time with endless arguments that go nowhere. We steal dignity by mocking someone in front of others. We lie through omission to avoid responsibility. We intoxicate ourselves with screens, scrolling, alcohol, habits that make us careless with the people we love. We commit emotional misconduct by flirting with attention outside the relationship while neglecting the heart inside the relationship. We create division by gossiping about one family member to another. We create harsh karma through speech that cannot be taken back. If you want to change your destiny, start here. Because destiny is not only the big events that happen to you. Destiny is the emotional climate you cultivate every day. That climate shapes your health, your opportunities, your ability to concentrate, your ability to love, your ability to recover from setbacks. A home filled with anger drains life force. A home filled with respect replenishes life force. This is why the old saying that virtue carries everything is not just poetry. When you cultivate inner virtue, the outer world becomes more stable. When you burn virtue with harshness, even blessings become unstable. Now, Daniel wanted something bigger than just fewer arguments. He wanted a stable heart. He wanted awakening that was real. Evelyn told him, "If you want awakening, you must train your mind at the point of contact. Not later. Not after you explode. Not in the fantasy of tomorrow. At the point of contact." Point of contact means the moment you feel insulted. Point of contact means the moment you feel ignored. Point of contact means the moment you feel fear. Point of contact means the moment you want to control. So Daniel built a simple home practice. He did not turn it into a performance. He made it humble. Every day, after dinner, he put his phone away for a short time. He sat upright. He breathed. He noticed thoughts without chasing them. When his mind wandered, he returned gently. Sometimes he silently recited the name of a martaba as a way to gather the mind. Sometimes he counted breaths. He did not chase special experiences. He chased steadiness. Because steadiness is what keeps precepts alive in real moments. Then he added another practice. Before he spoke in a tense moment, he trained himself to ask, "Is what I am about to say true, necessary, and kind?" If it was not, he did not say it. This is hard. It sounds simple, but it is hard, because in conflict, the ego wants to win more than it wants peace. But every time Daniel held his tongue in a harmful moment, he planted a seed. The seed of restraint, the seed of wisdom, the seed of compassion. Restraint is not suppression. Restraint is choosing not to throw a knife. You can still speak, but you speak to solve, not to stab. Now let me show you a moment that tested Daniel deeply. His father, Mr. Lee, had always been critical. He loved his son, but he expressed love through pressure. He would say, "You should earn more. You should be more successful. You should not waste time with spiritual stuff." One day at a family gathering, his father criticized him in front of everyone. Old Daniel would have felt humiliated, then angry. Then he would have attacked back, or he would have swallowed it and carried resentment for weeks. But Daniel had been practicing. He felt the humiliation as heat. He noticed the story forming. He noticed the urge to prove himself. Then he remembered something Evelyn said. When someone speaks from their wounds, if you answer from your wounds, the wounds will fight. If you answer from wisdom, the wound can soften. So Daniel looked at his father. He said calmly, "Dad, I hear that you want me to be stable and secure. I appreciate your concern. I am working steadily. I also want a peaceful mind and a good heart. That matters to me." The room went quiet. His father did not suddenly become enlightened, but he did not escalate. Afterward, his father pulled him aside and said quietly, "You seem different." That sentence was a karmic fruit, not a supernatural reward, but the natural result of training. When you stop fighting, others often stop fighting, or at least, the fight does not grow. Now, I want to pause and speak to you if you are thinking, "My family is too toxic. They will not change." You are not being asked to accept abuse. Keeping precepts does not mean becoming a doormat. Compassion does not mean surrendering your dignity. Wisdom includes boundaries. There is a difference between not harming and not protecting yourself. Not harming means you refuse to add poison. Protecting yourself means you do not stand in the fire. Sometimes the most compassionate action is distance. Sometimes it is clear limits. Sometimes it is a firm no. But even when you must set boundaries, you can still keep the precepts in your mind. You can refuse to carry hatred. You can refuse to gossip. You can refuse to plot revenge. You can refuse to poison your own heart. That is liberation. Now let us go deeper into why keeping precepts at home changes destiny faster than almost anything else. Because home is where your intentions repeat most. Home is where your speech patterns repeat most. Home is where your emotional triggers repeat most. Home is where your habits are most automatic. Automatic is where karma is strongest. If you change your automatic pattern, you change your future. This is why the turning point in destiny is often one thought that changes direction. It is the thought that says, "I will not speak like this anymore. I will not live like this anymore. I will not treat the people I love as targets for my stress. I will not treat myself as a machine. I will not trade peace for pride." That single thought is a seed. And when that seed is watered daily, destiny shifts. Daniel began to notice that his mind became less scattered. His meditation improved. His work improved. His patience improved. Even his health improved. Why would home precepts affect health? Because chronic anger and chronic guilt are stress. Stress becomes hormone. Hormones affect sleep. Sleep affects immunity. Immunity affects energy. Energy affects choices. Choices affect karma. Everything is connected. Now, Evelyn told Daniel something that became a key teaching. At home you are not only practicing morality, you are practicing Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is the awakened intention. The intention to awaken for the benefit of beings. But beings are not abstract. Beings are your partner when they are tired. Beings are your child when they are upset. Beings are your parents when they are afraid of aging. Beings are you when you are lonely. If your awakened intention cannot survive the smell of dishes, it is not yet mature. This line is blunt but true. Many people want spiritual identity. They want to feel special. They want to feel pure. But the Bodhisattva path is not a costume. It is a way of meeting life without adding harm. So Daniel began to practice a very specific form of compassion at home. He practiced seeing the suffering behind behavior. When Jenna sounded sharp, he asked himself what pain might be behind it. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she felt alone. Maybe she feared she had to carry everything. When his mother used guilt, he asked what fear was behind it. Maybe she feared being abandoned. Maybe she feared sickness. Maybe she feared losing relevance. When his father criticized, he asked what insecurity was behind it. Maybe his father feared his son would suffer. Maybe his father equated love with pressure because that was how he was raised. This did not excuse harmful behavior, but it prevented Daniel from responding with hatred. Hatred is expensive karma. It costs peace. Now here is where many people misunderstand precepts. They think precepts are about control. They think precepts are about being rigid. But the deepest function of precepts is liberation. When you stop lying, you are free from the fear of being exposed. When you stop gossiping, you are free from the poison of division. When you stop harsh speech, you are free from regret. When you stop intoxicating habits, you are free from carelessness. When you stop stealing, including stealing attention and peace, you are free from hidden debt. Precepts remove chain. So Daniel stopped seeing precepts as pressure and started seeing them as medicine. Now let us talk about the biggest place people fail at home, and the place where destiny shifts when you succeed. Speech. Speech is karma at high speed. One sentence can plant a seed that ripens for years. A child can remember one cruel sentence for decades. A partner can carry one contemptuous comment like a stone in the heart. A parent can soften from one sincere apology. So Daniel trained speech like a warrior trains a sword, but not to attack, to protect. He learned to stop using absolute words like always and never. He learned to stop sarcasm. He learned to stop the habit of bringing up old mistakes. He learned to stop speaking when his body was flooded with anger. He discovered a simple truth. When you are flooded, you cannot be wise. So he practiced regulation. He would take space. He would breathe. He would return when his mind was clearer. This is also spiritual practice. The mind that can pause is the mind that can awaken. Now let me show you another moment that changed Daniel's life, and why this moment is the hidden key to changing destiny. One night, Daniel and Jenna had a serious conflict about money. Money is a common karmic trigger because it touches survival, control, and fear. Jenna said, "You keep spending on things you call personal growth, but it feels like you are avoiding real responsibility." Daniel felt attacked. The ego rose. He wanted to say, "You do not understand. You are materialistic. You are blocking my spiritual path." Then he caught himself. He realized how easily spirituality can become another weapon. That is a subtle breaking of precepts, using the Dharma to win, using sacred language to crush someone. So he paused and said, "Tell me what you are afraid of." Jenna hesitated. Then she said, "I am afraid we will not be secure. I am afraid I will have to carry the future alone." Daniel felt his heart shift. Under the argument was fear. So he responded differently. He said, "I hear you. Let us make a plan together. Let us agree on a budget that includes our needs and our growth. And let us protect our stability. I do not want you to feel alone." That night, instead of planting the seed of division, they planted the seed of teamwork. That is the key. At home, the precepts are not only about avoiding harm. They are about planting wholesome seeds that create harmony. Harmony is not weakness. Harmony is strength with kindness. In Chinese wisdom, harmony begins with self-cultivation. If you cannot govern yourself, you cannot bring peace to a household. The first governance is governance of the mouth, the temper, the craving to be right. Daniel began to see that the family was not an interruption of practice. Family was the practice. Now I want to speak to you if you are the person who says, "My family does not support my spiritual path." Sometimes they do not support it because they do not understand it. Sometimes they do not support it because they have been harmed by people who talk about spirituality, but behave badly at home. This happens more than you think. Someone can recite prayers and still speak with contempt. Someone can attend retreats and still lie. Someone can talk about compassion and still gossip. So if you want your family to respect your practice, do not try to convince them with words. Convince them with your character. When your patience grows, they notice. When your anger decreases, they notice. When your honesty increases, they notice. When your generosity becomes clean, they notice. When you apologize quickly, they notice. That is the Dharma made visible. Now let us go deeper into one more essential idea from the Bodhisattva path. Merit without wisdom can become unstable. Wisdom without compassion can become cold. So at home, you practice both. Wisdom means seeing the true cause of suffering, which is not always the other person's behavior. Often it is your own attachment. Attachment to being right. Attachment to control. Attachment to being appreciated. Attachment to comfort. Attachment to identity. Compassion means responding in a way that reduces suffering, which sometimes means kindness, sometimes means firmness, sometimes means silence, sometimes means distance, but never means hatred. Daniel practiced this with his child too. Parenting is a powerful karmic field. One evening his child threw a tantrum. Old Daniel would have shouted. He would have demanded obedience. Then he would have felt guilty. New Daniel saw the tantrum as suffering. A child does not tantrum because they love chaos. A child tantrums because they cannot regulate. So Daniel got down to the child's level and said, "I see you are upset. Breathe with me." He held a boundary, but he did not add humiliation. This is how compassion becomes wisdom. And what you teach a child through your nervous system is more important than what you teach through lectures. If you show calm under pressure, the child learns calm. If you show cruelty under stress, the child learns cruelty. This is karma passing through generations. So keeping precepts at home is also protecting your lineage. You are stopping the inheritance of harm. That is a huge Bodhisattva act. Now, let us address the part of you that might feel discouraged. You might say, "I have tried to be patient, but I keep failing." Yes, because habit is strong. Karma is strong. Conditioning is strong. So do not demand instant perfection. Demand sincere practice. There is a difference between remorse and shame. Shame says I am bad, so I hide, and nothing changes. Remorse says I see the harm, so I repair, and I plant a better seed next time. Repair is crucial. Daniel learned to repair quickly. If he snapped, he apologized within minutes, not days. He did not justify. He did not blame. "I spoke harshly. That was wrong. I am sorry. I will practice better." This kind of apology is not weakness. It is moral strength. It is karmic purification. It stops the seed from hardening. And it models humility. Humility is another hidden precept that changes destiny. A humble person can learn. A proud person repeats. Now I want to share something that Evelyn told Daniel near the end of their conversations. Something that is like a compass for anyone practicing at home. She said, "If you can keep one thing, keep awareness at the moment of impulse. The moment you feel the impulse to attack, to lie, to withdraw, to control, to make the other person hurt the way you hurt, that is the moment you practice, because the impulse is the seed. If you catch it early, you change the harvest." So Daniel practiced catching the impulse. He practiced feeling it as energy in the body, not as a command. He practiced breathing into the chest. He practiced opening the jaw. He practiced unclenching the hands. This is spiritual practice as embodied training. Over time the impulses did not vanish, but they lost authority. That is freedom. Freedom is not having no storms. Freedom is being able to steer in storms. This is why the person who understands karma holds the steering wheel, not by controlling the world, but by controlling their own causes. Now let us move into a deeper reflection, and I want it to be close to your life, not distant philosophy. Many people ask how to change destiny. They look for rituals. They look for blessing. They look for shortcuts. But destiny changes through causes. If you want a life with more support, plant sincerity and generosity. If you want a life with more peace, plant restraint and forgiveness. If you want a life with more clarity, plant mindfulness and honesty. If you want a life with more blessing, stop burning blessing with harsh speech and hidden greed. Home is the best place to do this because home gives you daily repetition. This is why the precepts at home are the key that many people overlook. They think the key is outside. They think it is in a special place. They think it is in a special person. But the key is in the next sentence you are about to speak. The key is in whether you choose to win or choose to be wise. The key is in whether you choose to punish or choose to understand. The key is in whether you choose to escape or choose to stay present. The key is in whether you choose to feed resentment or choose to plant compassion. Now I want to give you a final story. Short but sharp, because it shows how one moment at home can change a whole karmic direction. Daniel once had a conflict with Jenna that could have become a long cold war. He felt misunderstood. He wanted to withdraw and make her feel the distance. That was his old pattern. Silent punishment. Then he remembered the Bodhisattva path. The path is not to win. The path is to reduce suffering. So instead of withdrawing, he walked into the room and said, "I feel hurt and I want to close my heart, but I do not want to do that anymore. I want us to be on the same side. Can we talk when we are calmer?" Jenna cried. The cold war melted before it began. That one moment changed days of potential suffering. It also changed Daniel. It taught his mind a new path. This is how karma is purified, not by fantasy, but by practice in the most ordinary room. Now, as we come to the closing, I want to speak to the part of you that has been trying to be spiritual while living in a home full of triggers. You are not failing because you are weak. You are failing because you are practicing in the easiest places and avoiding the hardest places. So take courage. The hard place is the training ground. If you can keep precepts at home, your practice becomes real. Your mind becomes steady. Your compassion becomes clean. Your wisdom becomes usable. Your destiny shifts because your causes shift. You will still face challenges, but you will not create as much extra suffering. And that reduction is already liberation. I also want to share what I have seen again and again with people around me. The moment someone becomes serious about right speech at home, their whole life begins to stabilize. They sleep better. They fight less. They think clearer. They waste less energy on drama. They stop leaking life force through resentment. When someone becomes serious about honesty, their relationships become safer. When someone becomes serious about generosity, support appears. When someone becomes serious about restraint, peace grows. When someone becomes serious about compassion, even difficult family members begin to soften. Not always, but often. And even when they do not soften, the practitioner suffers less because they stopped feeding the fire. This is why the old teachers say, do not chase results, plant causes. If you try to force your family to change, you will suffer. If you change your own causes, the whole system changes over time. This is the real turning point. Now I want to invite you to share in the comments. What is the one home habit you most want to transform? Maybe it is harsh speech. Maybe it is silent punishment. Maybe it is lying to avoid conflict. Maybe it is resentment from overgiving. Maybe it is the craving to be right. And I want you to share one seed you will plant this week. A sincere apology. A calm boundary. A 10-minute daily practice with your phone away. A commitment to not gossip. A commitment to pause before speaking when you feel flooded. If you found this helpful, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay close. And if you want to support deeper long-form teachings, consider becoming a member so we can keep making content that goes beyond motivation and into real practice. Closing words for you. Your home is not blocking your path. Your home is your path. Keep the vow alive. Keep the precepts real. Keep practicing compassion and wisdom in the next ordinary moment. And watch how destiny changes from the inside out.
At the end of the day, we all need something that brings us back to ourselves. Something that reminds us to slow down, breathe, and stay centered. Simple bracelet can do exactly that. Every bead you touch brings your mind back to calm, back to clarity, back to the present moment. If one of the bracelets you just so resonates with you, you can find the purchase link in the video description and explore more beautiful styles in our channel store. Let the one meant for you find its way to your wrist.